The sun beat down on the bustling marketplace of Bethel. Merchants hawked their wares, their voices a vibrant hum against the backdrop of clanging tools and bleating sheep. Among the throng stood Abigail, her wise eyes observing the lively commerce. Her heart, however, carried a weight that belied the serene smile gracing her lips. She moved with a quiet grace, her steps measured and purposeful as she navigated the crowded stalls. Her destination was the grain merchant, his stall piled high with sacks overflowing with the promise of sustenance. As Abigail reached for a sack of barley, a hand brushed against hers. She turned to find a woman, her face etched with worry lines, her eyes reflecting a deep well of sorrow. This was Naomi. Her once fine clothing now worn thin, her demeanor speaking of better days gone by. Naomi's grip on a single meager coin spoke volumes of her current plight. Their eyes met, and in that instant, a silent understanding passed between them, a recognition of shared hardship and the unspoken language of women who had known both joy and despair. "Peace to you, sister," Abigail greeted, her voice soft but steady, her gaze filled with compassion. "May I help you?" Naomi hesitated, pride warring with desperation. I am in need of grain, but I have so little to offer." Abigail's wisdom was not merely a product of age, but a testament to the trials she had endured. Betrayal, as bitter as wormwood, had poisoned her well of trust, leaving behind a residue of caution. Her husband, a man she had loved with the fierceness of a desert wind, had shattered their vows, leaving her with nothing but a heart full of ashes and a vineyard heavy with the grapes of their dreams. Yet Abigail had risen from the ashes of that betrayal, her spirit unbroken. She poured her grief into the land, finding solace in the rhythm of the seasons, the feel of cool earth in her hands, and the sweet, heady scent of ripening grapes. Through it all, her faith had been her anchor, a steadfast presence in the swirling storm of her emotions. It was this faith that whispered to her now, urging her to reach out to the woman standing before her, her eyes mirroring a pain that Abigail knew all too well. "Let me share my bounty with you, sister," Abigail offered, her voice carrying the warmth of the afternoon sun. "It is no burden, but a blessing to help a fellow traveler on life's path." Naomi's eyes widened, disbelief battling with the flicker of hope that dared to ignite within her weary heart. "But I have nothing to repay your kindness." Naomi had known a life of abundance, her days filled with laughter, her table laden with the finest foods. She had been a wife, a mother, her heart overflowing with love for her family. Then, like a sudden squall at sea, tragedy had struck. A storm, fierce and unforgiving, had claimed the lives of her husband and sons, leaving her adrift in a sea of sorrow. Their once substantial wealth had dwindled, eaten away by the relentless tide of misfortune. Now she found herself in Bethel, a stranger in a strange land. Her only companions the gnawing pangs of hunger and the heavy cloak of grief. The weight of her losses pressed down on her, threatening to extinguish the last embers of hope within her soul. Yet, as she gazed into Abigail's kind eyes, she felt a glimmer of warmth, a spark of possibility that had long been dormant within her. "Your kindness is a gift, but I cannot accept charity," Naomi replied, her voice trembling with a mixture of pride and despair. "I am strong, willing to work. Perhaps..." Section 4. Shared Sorrows, Seeds of Hope. Abigail raised a hand, gently silencing Naomi's words. "There is no shame in accepting help when it is offered freely," she said, her voice filled with quiet understanding. "Come, sit with me. Tell me your story and let us break bread together." And so, beneath the shade of a sprawling olive tree, they shared a simple meal of bread, cheese, and figs. As they ate, Naomi poured out her heart, her words tumbling forth like water from a broken dam. She spoke of her lost love, her shattered dreams, her struggle to find her footing in a world that seemed to have no place for her sorrow. Abigail listened with an empathy born of experience, her own heart echoing with the resonance of loss. When Naomi finished speaking, a heavy silence descended upon them. The air crackled with unspoken emotions, a shared understanding that transcended words. Abigail, her heart moved by Naomi's plight, decided to offer more than just a sympathetic ear. She saw in Naomi a strength that mirrored her own, a resilience that had been tempered by fire. Story by Itahan Omaruyi.